Welcome to the 7 Cents Podcast, where we go beyond dollars and cents to unlock the mindset beyond the money.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Macklin, aka Money Mike, the financial Thanos, because I'm snapping my fingers and I'm turning your financial problems to dust.
And I'm Coach RL, your money mindset coach. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in.
Guys, this is not your average financial podcast. We're breaking down money myths, mindset traps, and economic game plans.
We keep it real, raw, and relevant, from micro money moves to macro financial shifts.
This is a 7 Cents podcast where your mind meets your money. Today, what we're going to talk about is the pressure that we put on ourselves to just always be grinding, always be doing something. I read a book, and actually the funny part is it was suggested by you, the book Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And one of the first things he talked about is people's tendency to, as he called it, to have the GSD syndrome, which is the get shit done syndrome. You know what I'm saying? They just always pushing. And unfortunately for me, I didn't escape that. I was a person who had the same thing happen to me. And I found myself really affected by that as far as productivity goes, because I started looking at things that I was once passionate about as chores, because the grind became so like a part of my life that it was just like, it wasn't something I was doing for fun anymore. It was like, this is just something that you're doing because one, you have to. And it was almost like it was starting to define me. Like getting these things done was starting to define my success or failure as a person. And so I found myself sitting down like very recently and reevaluating that. Is everything that you're doing now turning into a chore, when once it was like this awesome thing that you like was sneaking away from work or slacking off on other stuff to do? Now it became a chore. So I really want to get into this because I'm sure I'm not the only person that feels this way. Maybe some people feel it in different capacities, but I'm sure I'm not the only one that felt this way. So I really felt inclined to say, hey, listen, let's talk about it today.
Yeah, brother, man. So I'm gonna tell you some real deal Holyfield shit, right? You bring up that book, and that book allowed me to realize three things about myself. A, that I needed to go to therapy. And again, I went to therapy and was actually diagnosed with anxiety. Because again, at the beginning of the story, he tells the story about the guy who thought he had a heart attack, but really he had a panic attack, right? And that was me. And I was like, I've had plenty of those before. Is that anxiety? So I'm like, let me go to therapy and get this worked out. Also, the second thing that I learned that gets shit done syndrome was so heavy for me. It was insane because I always felt like everything was a priority. And so everything needed to get done. And I found myself from sun up to sundown grinding. In therapy, I learned that when the things that I love started to become a chore was because I was burnt out. And so when I learned that I was burnt out, I actually already had a trip planned. And lo and behold, I went on this trip. It was a week-long trip. And I came back and I was refreshed and rejuvenated. But I never changed the pace of work that I was doing. So it was always a grind. And then maybe a month and a half later, I found myself back in the same rut. I think it's very important to check yourself in the grind, right? There's nothing wrong with always grinding. I think the problem is, again, and you mentioned it, is is this grind that I'm on something that I love, right? If I love to do this, then it's cool. We can rock it out. But if there is a piece of, really, we go back to it, it's a piece of burnout that lies in that work. Two things need to happen. Man, I'll just be like breaking it down. Try not to get too meticulous, right?
Come on, break it
So
down,
I'll break
brother.
it
Break it all
down.
the way.
Number one, you need to identify what that specific task is, and then you need to go ahead and hire somebody to do it. So that way you can continue to do the fun stuff. The other piece to this, right, is identifying if the work that you're doing is busy or productive, because there's a difference. There's a difference.
Oh, definitely,
And when you
definitely.
find yourself doing a shitload of busy work, that's when you find out the burnout the fastest because productivity produces other shit. It produces money, it produces network friends, it produces something. And so you plant a seed, you water it, and it grows. But if the seed ain't in the dirt and it's not producing anything, you got the seed sitting on top of the table and you just watering it. It's busy work. You get nothing out of it. You didn't get nothing out of it. You need to go find a farmer who know what to do with that seed. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, I hope I didn't get too deep into this right now, but I'll dish the ball back to you from this aspect. Have you found yourself like too deep into the grind where you found yourself not being productive at all and you were just busy?
Yes, and that's honestly when you started talking about that, I felt like you was talking about me a little bit. Like you was just, you know what I'm saying? Like you was just like, look, Mike, this is you. But I definitely identify this and I want to put a little context into not only that point, but just this episode as a whole. I'm gonna make this as quick as possible. Also sought therapy. This was about probably 2, 3 years ago because I was just in a bad place with a lot of things, the business, relationship, just overall thought process. You know how they say you in a low vibration? It was
Mhm.
like in a very low like vibration. And it was crazy because honestly, it made no logical sense because I had achieved the main goal that I was trying to have happen. You know what I'm saying? And that was to become financially free. Like I was like, I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to be free. And that was my whole life. I just want to be free. You know what I'm saying? And so I achieved that. But what I found is that some things from my childhood came back on me, and that the thing that came back was the need for validation because I
Mm.
didn't get that. Won't get too deep into that story, you know what I'm saying? Obviously that's another story for another day, but that need for validation like went way into my life, like really far into it. And it made me feel like I had to know everything. I had to be that guy. And so I found myself, my learning style is I want to know how to do everything. If it's something to do, I want to know how to do every component, every piece of it. I want to be the expert. And it was because an internal dialogue was going on with me is if you don't know all of this, then you're not no good at it. Is you're not valid. You don't have no business talking to nobody about this. And it transitioned into a lot of things. And so I think that is what stole a lot of joy from what I was doing. And it also made me be very unproductive because I felt like, again, I have to do it all because if I don't do everything, that means I don't know how to do this. And that invalidated me. And it's okay, you don't have the right to do these things because you don't even know how to do it. But then I learned, we had a talk looking at the book that you suggested and other business books that I looked at. And even I think we talked about this before about is how school reinforces this individualistic thing. If you don't do it yourself, you're cheating type thing. You know what I'm saying? Where it makes the least amount of sense. And I actually, it all ties together. It might sound like rambling, but it all does
I
tie
hear you,
together.
brother.
I also saw a video by Andrew Tate, like a little short little reel or clip. And he said the reason why a lot of people lose in business is because you're competing against teams as an individual. You go out here trying to, as an individual, compete against teams. That's just like going out into the street, you know what I'm saying, getting into a fight. And you know what I'm saying, you fighting 5 people and it's just you.
Facts.
More than likely than not, you're gonna lose the fight because it's just too many people, you know what I'm saying? And in business, it's the same thing. You're going to lose that fight because if you are the only one out there fighting, and you fighting against teams. A lot, the most successful businesses, they are organizations. That's why they call them organizations for a reason. It's
Yeah,
multiple
organization.
people
Yeah.
doing different things. You know what I'm saying? And so bringing it back to the point, when I discovered, okay, you're doing too much, that's when I was like, you know what? That's when the books and your advice and a lot of things start making sense. Is dude, The reason why you feel this way is because you don't have nobody helping you, because you feel like the only way that you're going to feel valid as a person is that if you do everything, which is the stupidest thing. And I don't like to say bad things, about myself. I don't do that. But to illustrate the point, that is the least intelligent way to go about being productive. And so once I started learning, that's when it reinvigorated me. It was like,
Mhm.
okay, so my job now is, okay, hey, listen, first off, get that not so smart idea out of your head that you have to do everything or you're not valid. I've already succeeded. I've basically accomplished the main goal. I am free. Like, I don't work for anybody. I do what I do. You know what I'm saying? Well, I wake up what time I want to, all those things that a lot of people would love to have happen. And so I wake up grateful, but it really invigorated me to know that, hey, listen, you don't have to do this by yourself. And so that's the main point of everything I was saying. Sorry to go this
No,
way, but I have to give
no.
context. That's just who I am as a
Yeah,
person.
absolutely. So I will tell you this though, right? There's and it's actually, I want to say the philosophy comes from Robert Kiyosaki, right? And I just did a post on it a couple of days ago, but it's the four ways to produce income. When you see that chart, or even if you like dig into Rich Dad Poor Dad, things like that, you see that chart and you start to realize how valuable your time is. And let me go a little bit deeper because I don't want to go over heads with this one. All right, so there's four ways to produce income. You have an employee who trades their time for money, and then you have a self-employee, which this is the playing field that you started off on, being a self-employed who also trades time for money because they didn't haven't hired anybody to do any of these things. So as much as you have taken back control of your life and your time is still dedicated to work. It's just not somebody else's work, it's your work. But then you have, and then we go on to explain that this is really 5% of the wealth and 95% of the population. Means this is a very, there's most people trade their time for money, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
have the 95% of wealth, but only these are 5% of the population. These are business
Right.
owners and investors because business owners trade other people's time for money, and then investors trade money for money, right? At no point in time are they trading time. Now, of course, they're dedicating time to their business to do operate the organization. But when you learn that aspect of how to make money and how money should be made, especially as and that's one, there's two things I realized. First, when I probably was about a year into being a financial professional and I'm working, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This is really hard. This is more work than I do at work. And
Yes.
and I'm like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock days, 1 a.m. days. And then sometimes waking up at, I still do it, but 4 a.m., 4:30, grinding some things out before I can get into a PT session, working really hard. And there's no way everybody's doing this. And then someone introduced me to that chart, and I was like, this makes sense. Then I went to the College of Financial Planning, and then I started going to also CFP events, Certified Financial Planning. They have a board, and part of their board, they always have these annual events, and they have more than one annual event. But I went to a diversity event, and then I went to a 50th anniversary ball, and I got to be around all of these financial professionals. And just like you learn in a book, because I was just now getting into learning how they operate, and I get to talking to them, and I realized that they work in teams. So you're like, hey, what do you do? And he was like, hey, I work in private bank. I work in the private banking sector, but I do X. And I'm like, if you needed a client that needed life insurance, I would just send them to my partner who does life insurance. Oh, that makes sense. So what about if estate planning? Then I would just send them to the lawyer. So they all work in teams. And so that's how I end up establishing my team. And so that's why I've been reaching out to people and, hey, you do credit repair? Because I don't want to do credit repair no more. And then you can do it and my client can still get taken care of. I'm 100% okay because now as an organization, our team is winning. So that's why I network this way. Hey, you do tax planning? Cool. I have a client for you. Bam, here we go. And if you can work in that network, you take off so much pressure of having to be those things. And depending on who you are, there's 5 to 7 levels of financial pillars, but there's a lot of elements within those layers. You have investors, you have estate planners, you have protection, that's property and life and health. Though that's three different layers in one thing, right? And then you have your budgeteers and you have your debt managers. It's a lot of elements. And for one person to know that, and I'm glad I know it now, but I don't want to know it to be doing it no more.
There you
I
go.
want to know it so I can better manage the people I serve. Because I can, and it's not talking to them on the surface about it. I can go in depth in detail, but I'm like, hey, I know somebody who does this for a living, right? So let's talk to them because I don't want to do this for a living, right? I want to ensure that you're taken care of because that is where my joy comes from. But I would just say the other piece to understanding burnout is understanding where your joy comes from, right? You got to
Absolutely.
identify where your joy comes from. Because if you don't know, if you just doing shit to be doing shit, you eventually gonna be burnt out because now, hey, I like to be. And here, perfect example. And this is where when I talk to you, like, hey, Mike, you need an editor. I enjoy being in on social media, doing the engagement with the folks and creating the videos. I like the videos to be funny. I like to rewatch them. I used to like to edit them. And then I realized that I was only kicking out two, three videos probably every couple days because I was spending so much time editing on top of working, on top of being a dad at 8, and it wasn't giving me what I wanted. So now I'm not creating as many videos. And I start to realize when I haven't seen as many videos is, hey, I don't actually get any joy out of the editing because nobody was like, damn, whoever edit that cold as hell. Nah. Nobody ever
Right.
said that in the comments. None of
No one.
nobody ever said that in the comments. So I start to realize, hey, my joy really isn't in all of the editing stuff. So how do I pass off this task because it's taking too long? And now I'll
Yes.
spend a Saturday and a Sunday and crush out 2, 3 hours of content, send it to the editor, and now I got a week's worth of content. And now you see everybody else probably slow maintenance and they're making 1, 2 videos a day and then editing and all of the other stuff. It's too much time wasted. And it's time that I could be putting into the joy that I have for whatever the task is, man. But I would definitely say burnout is real. On a percentage, what do you think the people out there that exist where they are burned out and they don't even know
Huh. It's funny because I make weird connections sometimes, and I'm gonna connect to what you said. I find myself doing that a lot, by the way. I don't
it?
know.
I love it.
I feel like we bounce off each other a lot, but
Eh,
I would say it's actually 95%. And the reason I say that is for the chart that you mentioned. The cash flow quadrant is what they call it, the four ways to make money. Again, 95% of the people are on what Robert Kiyosaki calls the left side of the money. And that is, again, where only 5% of it is. So it just, that defies logic, first off. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, most people, that's where they fall because of what they've been trained to do. So my answer to that is honestly 95% of people, I would be willing to wager on that as well. That 95% of people or more, but I'm going to say 95 to give a definitive answer, are on that side of it. They're on that unproductive, just feeling some kind of way about that. And I want to use that to segue into this next portion. A lot of people, they feel really guilty when they bash themselves, about that. And myself included, I felt really guilty about that. And I'm gonna make this real personal because look, I really want you guys to understand that it's not just you. That's the main thing I want is not just you. You are not by yourself. And that's the first thing you have to get out of your head if you're going to make change. A lot of people, when they doing something wrong, they think, oh, it's just me. Trust me, there is a lot more effed up people in the world than you think. They look like they got it together. And that's where the whole ego versus id or whatever is
Yeah,
basically the
yeah,
face that you show the world versus what's really going on inside of you.
absolutely.
A lot more people are really going through it than you think they are. And so as you're looking to move forward from this, that's the first thing that you got to understand that More people are going through this than you think, whether or not they go admit it to you or, but I guarantee you, somebody watching right now, once they look at this, they in their head, they go, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they're going to say, oh my God, that's me. Even some of the stuff I talked about earlier about the childhood struggles, the search for validation. And we talked about this before about how society and what people think people expect from them makes them perform and act in a certain way. And that ties into this as well. We go out into the world thinking that we just supposed to have all of it together. And the truth is, nobody has it together, really. Like, barely nobody has it together. That's what life is about. Life is this journey to find your place in the world, to find your purpose, to find happiness and contentment in who you are. It's life is not about what goes on outside of you. Life is just how you handle these things, how you go out and navigate the world in a way that's authentic to you, that's going to make you happy.
Mm,
So that's my thoughts on that. I went real deep into that answer, but 95% is my answer. And that's the reason why. And my message is that listen, guys, it's okay. It is perfectly fine to feel the burnout, to feel the guilt, to feel the shame, but don't let that become your identity. Don't let that become okay, that's your energy. Don't let that now you just operate in a low vibration because you feel like this is what your life is supposed to be. This is all there is. It's not like that. It's not. Because if it were, if that was the case, then there wouldn't be people doing these exceptional things. And that's what we have to look at. So many of us get caught up in the notion that, you know, instead of, living up here, I'm sorry, y'all can't see my, instead of living up here, I should be living down here. And I think Eminem said damn 8 Mile or something. He's like, you ever feel,
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of living up here, you should just be living down here. And a lot of people do that. And we have to stop doing that because the evidence is just not there. There is right now one man, one man who has, and I don't want to make this about money, but that's just the example I'm gonna use. There's one man right now who has the equivalent of 5 million people's average annual income as his net worth. 5 million, one person. So it's possible to ascend to heights that's just unthought of, just unfathomable. And,
Unimaginable.
not to make this, I don't want to push religion on anybody. So I won't say it as a religion thing. But what I'll say is I'm going to say the word because I'm a religious person. I believe in God. The things that God have for you is way beyond what you think is even possible. And it is our it is our purpose in life to get to those levels. That's what he put us here. He's like, look, I put you here to be at the top. I didn't
Yeah.
put you to be down here. And so that's where we need to go in our minds when these things start to come in here. No, this is not who I am. This is not what my life's supposed to look like. It may be a page in the story, but this is not the whole book.
Right. Now, and hear me out. I think this was an opportunity because you said something and it really sparked my interest is and one of the things that I've been practicing is you say people feel guilty. They feel guilty for being tired and knowing that there's more to do. They feel guilty for not being perfect or excellent or delivering a product under the expectation of another person. But a lot of times that guilt feeling that you have is a feeling that you created yourself. Nobody actually set that standard for you except for yourself. And I remember I was sitting in a therapy session. This is what I'm sometimes I'll be making up shit. This is not one of them. I learned this, right? Sometimes I just sound cool when I say shit, but this one came from a book, right?
No, this for
Uh,
real, y'all.
yeah, yeah. So I'm sitting in therapy session and I'm telling my therapist about I'm working really hard and trying to be the best dad that I can be. And I'm also trying to crush everything in this business and be a friend and be a mentor to others. And I'm saying it's really exhausting. And he says, why don't you just stop doing, I can't remember what he asked me to do. Maybe it was just stop having meetings for a week. And then I just looked at him like, I don't think I could do that. And he says, what would people say if you didn't do that? And then I was like, people probably would perceive my business as unprofessional and I'm never on time and things of that nature. And he says, has that ever happened before? And I was like, no. And he said, well, what evidence do you have that's going to be the result of you stopping for a week? Because we already know the results of you continue to go. You're going to burn out and have a heart attack, an aneurysm, or something. And that is the result of you keep going. You have no evidence of what's going to happen if you stop for a second, take a breather, take a knee. That's the guilt that you put on not stopping was completely perceived by Robert Simmons, and that was it. No, you made that up. If you don't do something excellent, who's going to say something? And I'm like, fucking probably nobody, because nobody ever says anything like that. Nobody's like, damn, you fucked up. But it's a fear that we always have, right? And
And I
so
mean,
that
something else is nobody cares enough. Like, to be
nobody
honest with
cared
you,
enough.
nobody cares enough to even, and I hate to cut you off. I'm even real quick
No,
with
that's
this.
on point.
Nobody cares enough. And I use that as content posting. I think I saw a post where, they was talking about why do people like not post? And it's like you worried about people what they think. I'm like, in most cases they don't care anyway.
Here.
So you're operating in a place where, like you said, you made it up. Like these people don't care as much as you think they do.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to plug that in there to really drive that point to somebody. Maybe if you out there, you post content or something, or you're looking to take that next step. If you make a mistake, listen, nobody cares enough to really worry about it. Just to be honest with you, make the mistake and keep going.
That's 100%. The other piece, and it's funny because this brings me the segues right back into where I was going to with this is at the end of the day, being open and transparent not only makes you a better human, but it allows you to have better connections with people. So on my behalf, if somebody says, "Hey man, I'm sorry I'm late," or they fucked up a project or something like that, if it's not like a big deal, and it's no, I know it's something I don't give a fuck about, I might just be like, "Ah, it's cool." But it's actually a great opportunity, especially if you're a leader. It's a great opportunity to validate how that person felt because the guilt you feel and the pressure you feel when you don't deliver something. And then somebody can be like, I'm sorry, blow it off. And it's not that big of a deal, but you're still holding on to that shit. But as
Mm,
a leader, I say, it's okay. It just shows that you're human and it's okay to be human. And people are like, and I say, and I'm human too. I make mistakes. I have to bring that to people's attention, not to shove the side of the mistake that they just made, but just to say it's cool. We connect on the fact that it's not that big of a deal. It's okay, and it's okay to be okay, and it's okay to not be okay. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't have any pressure to feel invalidated by your mistake when somebody could simply just say, it's okay, I'm human. But this is another way, is one of those ways. And like I say, when we come on here, I like to talk, I like to get things off my chest, but I also like to be progressive in what it is that we're doing. So if you can build a community around just being open and transparent and then helping others in their parts of their struggle, you're going to build a better team around you. Yeah. I just want to get that because when you said it, I was like, this is the things where I was just like freak out if even if I show up 2 minutes late and everybody is in the room and I'm thinking everybody gonna know I'm late and nobody says nothing.
yeah.
And I'm been worried for the last sprinting and cool. It's not, it's okay to not be late. You shouldn't be late on a consistent basis, but at the end of the day, well, nobody care unless unless they waiting on you to speak or something. But even then, I be mad because like when I go to a concert, because you go to a concert, they tell you the show start at 7. The final act ain't going on to 12:30. But so I show up 2 minutes late to speak. The world gonna be flipped upside down. So sometimes you just gotta live like it's your concert.
Pretty
It's not
much.
that big of a deal.
It's really not, man. It really isn't. And it helps you when you realize I'm a human being. I'm not a robot. I'm not God. Like I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to be flawed. But the real power is learning to grow from that. You
Yeah.
take that as a lesson, not as an insult against you. You say, okay, hey, I made this mistake. This is a learning opportunity. It's okay. This is something, okay, let me avoid this as I navigate this road going further. Because we talked about this, we talk about a lot of things, but a lot of stuff we talk about comes back to my mind as I'm discussing things. But we talked about how godly, come on, man, come back to me, come back to me. Learning opportunity. We'll come back to that because I don't
Yeah.
want to. I hate dead silence. It's one of them things I just don't like dead silence.
No.
But just the opportunities to learn and grow from mistakes is paramount in self development and in learning who you are as a person, learning that you're capable of making mistakes, and your mind starts to appreciate the fact when you're pushed through that. Because your mind could be a real a hole if you
Yeah.
let it. If you let your mind harp on stuff, it's gonna do it. It's going to, because it's your mind looks for things that coincide with what it thinks already. So if you keep putting in your head all these bad things, your mind is looking for evidence now to prove that.
That's why
So,
affirmations really work.
oh,
Because
absolutely,
your mind is so then naturally your mind is so negative on you that you have to remind yourself and you have to continue to build yourself because you are your worst critic. You are your worst critic. And again, it's and that's why like back in the day when they had a cartoons with the angel and the devil on your shoulder, they really be talking to you like that, bro.
yes,
And that devil is so much louder and he just keep going, you ain't shit. You don't messed up. You done messed up again. You gonna do it again. You slow, you fat, you ugly. And the other guy back here is just like whispering, but you got to give that part of your voice a more powerful voice, and that's why affirmations are huge. Just
right,
because it was whispering, that means they got to talk often. Hey, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm smart. You got to continue to pour and pour and pour because he gonna be barking at you. But as long as you hear I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm him, you know what I'm saying? Affirmations really work, bro. I just say that for sure.
absolutely. They call it reprogramming.
Yeah,
Uh,
got to,
you got to
got to.
reprogram your brain. Listen, man. And like to use your example, that whisperer, you got to tell that guy, hey, speak up.
Yeah,
Oh, you talk louder. You shut up
yes,
and
yeah.
you
You got
talk
to be in
louder.
control, man.
Yeah,
It's
I'm not
hard.
listening to you. Let me
Yeah,
listen to
some
you
days it's
over here.
hard. Some days it's hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Some days it's hard.
Absolutely. Because sometimes the mistake is really bad.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
really bad mistake.
And
But
that's why I say it's good for you to build that community and people to communicate with each other that way too. Because sometimes the mistake do be that bad, and sometimes people just need a bone, bro. They just need a bone because they are just beating themselves up, and they need you to be like, "Hey, man, that it was bad, but it ain't the end of the world." And sometimes that
right.
feels so much better because that motherfucking loud ass, it's the end of the world. He is talking to you. And
Yes.
so you just need somebody to reaffirm that the biggest mistake in your life that you just made 5 minutes ago really wasn't the biggest mistake of your life. Yeah, it was a mistake. It's validated. We can get through it. Give you something to look at, but some people get lost in that
Mhm.
dark hole, man.
Yeah. And to further validate what you said too, the power of a team. Sometimes you have something where you really messed up on and you trying to figure out how do I fix this? I don't know. But then that team member's, oh shoot, this ain't nothing, man. That's all you do. All right, it's fixed.
Boom.
Okay, move on.
Yeah.
And it helps you to minimize the catastrophic mindset that you may have sometimes. Like you may feel like, oh my God, it's the worst mistake I ever made in my life. But then that person next to you, oh dude, this is an easy fix. And we just do this. Do. Okay, cool. And I've had this happen a lot. And I've come from an accounting finance field. And sometimes you fudge numbers, you mess something up, and then somebody, oh, no, you just do this. Okay, boom. All right, fixed. Okay, great. Move on. Thanks. And
That
you know,
that's good. I This quick story. Also, I have this lady that I work with in Belgium. She's probably been there for 40 years, accounting. And she started with the manual accounting and probably into typewriters, and they gave her a computer and she had to work her way through it. But she still does just about everything manually.
mhm,
So one day I had a penny. I couldn't find a penny. And I'm talking about we just got through balancing probably $97 million for the day. And I could not find a
Yes.
penny. She's like, you got to find a penny before we balance. And then she said this to me over and over again. But this day I lost the penny. And I was afraid to tell her that I lost a penny, but I had to break it down to her. And now, mind you, when I say she's doing manual, so we got contracts probably about yay thick. And she told me, it's not missing. You probably just overlooked it. So go back through them again, and I can guarantee you. And then she looked at all of the numbers that I was writing down, and
Hmm.
she kind of memorized usually when certain transactions happen at a time. She was like, "No, just look in the first half. I'm pretty sure it's there." And lo and behold, boom. And I'm like, one page at a time, found the one penny. But she knew. And I sat there and I promise you, it had to been about a good 30 minutes, an hour, and I already went back through the documents and everything else. She basically just told me, no, it's just a page stuck to each other. It's probably at the top because that's when they only do those 1 cent transactions. And because she just knew that off the top of her head, I found it in like 5 minutes, but I sat there and struggled for an hour because I thought I could do it myself. But power of team. Hey, let's do this, man. I want to give them something to really work with. Let's transition into the next episode and really focus on the importance of a team when that grind is starting to be real, right? So we'll get into that on the next episode, but I think this is a good time to tell them to check back next week. You feel me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And real quick, along with this, I'm actually doing a 60-day reset. It's a 60-day reset challenge, just an opportunity for you to talk about these things. Now, I make it financial because we talk about how debt is something that robs you of your joy. A lot
Mm,
of people, their main focus is I got a good job, I'm making good money. How is it that I'm in debt? And it really steals the joy from your life. So what I want to offer is I actually have a 60-day financial reset challenge that I'm doing. So if you go to my website, www.thegreenorder.com, I'll put that down in the description so you actually can find it. But I'm actually doing the 60-day reset, financial reset, to where we can kind of help you get back on track and get some of those feelings of guilt and all these things out of your head and get you back on the right side of the money. If that's something that you are at all interested in, hey, let's talk about it. Let's get you back on the right side of it.
I love it. I love it. You just tapped into the seventh sense where the mind meets the money and the legacy gets built.
It's your boy Money Mike, the financial Thanos, snapping one myth at a time and leaving no financial lies standing.
And I'm Coach RL, mind right, money right, legacy locked in. If today's episode gave you game, make sure you rate, review, and share it with someone.
Hey, follow us on all platforms and keep the conversation going, guys. DM us your questions, your myths, and your money wins.
Until next time, think deeper, move smarter, and keep building.
This is the Seven Cents Podcast. We out.